A teenage girl got flagged for looking out of place in business class, and the staff took things way too far until she dialed her dad. What they didn't see coming was Chuck Norris. Before we jump into this, hit that like button and follow for more gripping tales that'll stick with you. Now let's get started. That your ticket, sweetheart? Or did you snag it from someone who actually flies business class? The voice was slow and smug, like she'd tossed the same line at a dozen people already. Tina, her name tag hanging crooked on a worn airport vest, gave Myra a once-over, not even trying to hide her smirk. Myra slid her boarding pass and ID across, cool as ever. She'd dealt with worse, but this hit different. Tina didn't just question her, she seemed entertained. Then Tina leaned in, squinting at the ID. "Well, check this out," she snickered. "Maira Norris, huh?" Myra gave a simple nod. "Let me guess, you're headed to some karate deal?" Tina dragged the words out like it was a punchline. "Martial arts camp," Myra replied steady, "in Chicago." Tina let out a snort. "And your daddy signed you up for that, huh? What, you think he's Chuck Norris or something?" "He is," Myra said, not flinching. That cracked Tina up, her laugh loud, harsh, and rough. A couple folks in line turned to stare. "Oh, honey, come on," she said, still giggling. "You really expect me to buy that? You think tossing Norris on an ID makes you some big shots, kid?" Myra didn't respond, her face blank, though her hands tightened behind the counter. Tina's tone shifted, low and sly. "You know what I think? I think you lifted that ticket from someone. Or maybe you're pulling some kind of hustle. Kids try that stuff, or worse." She tilted her head. "What's in that bag, huh? You're all quiet, all polite. It's making me antsy. Could be covering something up." "What? No," Myra started, thrown off. Tina didn't let her get a word in. She leaned closer, pretending to double-check the ID, while her other hand quietly hit a button under the desk. "I've seen your type," Tina said, loud enough for others to catch. Clever girls thinking they can sweet-talk their way past real security. Myra's eyes darted to the side. Two guys in security uniforms were heading her way. She looked back at Tina. "This is a mix-up. I'm not lying. I can show you the email, the ticket. Let the officers take it from here, sweetie," Tina cut in, stepping back like she was suddenly wary of her. "I don't mess with sketchy travelers." "Sketchy? What are you even saying?" Myra's voice wavered, more stunned than scared. "I'm 17, I'm just—" "Ma'am, step away from the counter," one of the guards snapped. They closed in quick, no chill chit-chat, no politeness. One snatched her backpack, the other went for her arms. "Wait, I can clear this up," Myra tried, but the first guard ripped her bag from her grip and tossed it on a table. The second grabbed her arm, tugging her back. She stumbled. "I haven't done anything wrong." "You'll get your shot to explain," the taller one said, unzipping her backpack rough. "Right now, we're checking for anything shady." People were staring now, pulling out phones. Someone muttered, "What's happening?" But no one stepped up. Inside her bag, they rifled through her stuff. Her notebook, her practice gloves, her little shampoo bottles. Her folded jacket got yanked out and dropped like trash. One guard held up a rolled wrist wrap and gave it a sniff. "TSA flagged her for extra screening earlier," Tina piped up from behind the counter, all smug. "She got through, but I had a hunch, call it a gut feeling." Myra went quiet, her cheeks hot, but she wouldn't break down. Not here. The guard unzipped a side pocket, dumping out her protein bars and some loose change, then spun back to her. "You're gonna tell us what this is," he said, holding up a small bottle of liquid. Her muscle recovery spray. "That's sports spray," Myra said, barely above a whisper. "For soreness." He didn't look convinced. "Might need to test that." She stared at him. "I'm not sneaking anything. I'm not a criminal. My dad, he'll be here. He'll sort this out." "Yeah, sure," the shorter one said, not even glancing her way. "And I'm Bruce Lee." The jab fell flat, but Tina cackled again. They didn't listen, didn't even give her a second to breathe. Myra stood there, heart racing, breathing shallow, surrounded by people who pegged her as trouble, not just a teen trying to catch a flight. They treated her like she was a risk, all because she rocked a hoodie, carried a name they didn't buy, and stayed calm when she could have snapped. Earlier, right before it all went sideways, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She'd stepped aside, leaned against the wall, and answered with a little grin. "Hey, Dad," Chuck Norris's voice came through, warm and familiar. "You sure you don't want me tagging along, Pumpkin? I could grab the next flight, be there in 20 minutes. Myra laughed softly. "Dad, if you show up at LAX, You know how it goes. I'll never get through the gate. You're a paparazzi magnet." He paused, like he hated admitting she was right. "Still, I don't like you flying solo, not with random people around." "I'm good," she said gently. "I need to handle this one on my own just this time. Trust me." There was a longer pause. "All right," Chuck said finally. "But you call me the second you land, Myra. I mean it." "I will," she promised. "Love you. Love you more." She hung up. Myra slipped the phone back into her pocket and straightened up, but now, just minutes later, she wished she'd let her dad come along. Her bag was split wide open, stuff pouring out like a busted dam, neatly folded tees, sweatpants rolled tight, a little pouch with her bathroom essentials and a pair of practice gloves. Then, as if the world wanted to rub it in, out came a soft bra, followed by 2 pairs of underwear. One basic, the other a loud pink she'd grabbed half asleep that morning. They hit the floor with a light, floppy thud. Myra's breath hitched, like someone had squeezed her chest. She blinked once, then dropped to her knees, hands scrambling to scoop them up before anyone could gawk. Her fingers shook, her heart pounding in her throat, heat creeping up her neck. One pair had landed near the security rope. A guy just outside the line glanced down, then flicked his eyes away fast, acting like he didn't notice. Myra snatched them back, shoving the fabric into her jacket's lining. She didn't look up, didn't want to see their faces. Her hands were still jittery as she fumbled to zip the side pocket shut. Behind her, another zipper ripped open. "Backpack too," the second guard barked. "I'll get it," she said quick, reaching back to hand it over, but he grabbed it before she could undo the strap. It jerked off her shoulder hard, tugging her body for a split second. "Please, just go easy," she said, stepping forward as he gripped both zippers and yanked them down in one rough pull. Everything spilled out right away. Her journal, a folded hoodie, some loose pens, wrapped protein bars, and tucked deep at the bottom, a small ceramic mug she'd packed with extra care. It slid out slow, almost like it was fighting to stay put, but then it dropped. It rolled once, twice, and hit the tile. The sound started small, a faint crack like glass about to give. Then it shattered, breaking into half a dozen sharp pieces that skittered across the floor, settling around her sneakers. Myra stared for a beat, then 2, then her knees buckled, not from exhaustion but pure reflex to reach for it. She dropped down, hands open, like she could grab what was already gone. No, please. This was a gift from my late grandpa," she said, her voice quieter than she meant, not carrying like the crash had. Behind her, one guard muttered, "Geez, it's just a mug." She didn't budge, hands hovering near the pieces, fingers curling in like she didn't know whether to pick them up or leave them. Then another voice cut through, sharp and syrupy. "Well, that's weird," Tina said, arms crossed tight as she leaned against the wall. "Didn't you say your dad's Chuck Norris?" Myra didn't reply. She could barely hear over the buzz in her head. Tina stepped closer. "So what's the deal, sweetheart? Your real dad some action movie guy or some passed-away dude with a broken mug?" Still nothing. Tina smirked. "Kinda a jumbled story, huh?" Something snapped. Not the mug, but inside Myra. She stood, breathing shallow, eyes hard as nails, her hands balled into fists at her sides. For the first time since she stepped into this terminal, she didn't feel scared or embarrassed. She felt fire, starting low in her gut, rising through her chest, her throat, her clenched hands. Before the first guard could react, her legs swept low in a smooth, trained move. His knees gave out, and he hit the floor with a solid thump. The second lunged. She spun, using his momentum to send him crashing into a pile of plastic bins by the conveyor. People gasped. Someone shouted. A lady yelped. The third guy was bigger. He grabbed her arm mid-swing, twisting it. Myra clenched her jaw and jabbed his side with her elbow, but he held tight. A fourth came up from behind, arms locking around her waist, yanking her back. She kicked once, twice, but they had her pinned. 4 grown men on one 17-year-old girl. Her arms were twisted behind her, legs kicking wild as she let out a raw, furious yell. She wasn't just fighting to break loose now, she was fighting to be noticed. Then, like a switch flipping, the chaos quieted as a deep, steady voice sliced through. "Enough." The guards froze, breathing heavy, hands still clamped on her shoulders, elbows, waist. Click, click, click. Hard-soled shoes echoed across the tile. A man in a dark gray blazer walked up, carrying himself like someone who didn't need to flex to be in charge. His gray eyes scanned the mess, the tipped bins, scattered clothes, ripped backpack, broken mug, and the girl panting like a trapped animal on the floor. Behind him stood a row of newer guards, younger, sharper, watching it all. "My name's Charles," the man said. "I'm the terminal supervisor." The officers stumbled over their words. One mentioned an alert, another said she got aggressive, someone mumbled she was pushed too far. Charles raised a hand, quiet. "Myra, can you stand?" Her breath shook, arms still held by two guards. She didn't answer. "I said," he repeated, voice steady but firm, "let her go." Their grips eased. Myra slid forward onto her knees, then slowly pushed herself up. Her jacket hung off one shoulder. Her shirt clung with sweat. A smudge of dirt streaked her palm. She didn't talk, didn't cry, just stared. Charles met her gaze, then nodded. Charles glanced down at the biggest chunk of the broken mug still sitting on the floor. He bent down, picked it up, a piece of family pride snapped in half, then stood tall, locked eyes with Myra, and said, "Let's chat somewhere quieter." Myra gave a single nod and stepped over the mess behind her. One shoe gone, barefoot now. Her bag a wreck with nothing left untouched or whole. She figured the worst was behind her, but whatever messed up system ran this airport wasn't done yet. "Miss Norris," she turned. "Step over here with me, please," Charles said. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a polite command. Myra paused, her hand tightening on the strap of her ripped backpack. "What's the issue?" she asked, her voice steady. Not picking a fight, but not backing down either. Charles didn't reply right off. He waved her toward a service counter nearby, out of the crowd's buzz, but still in view of a few nosy folks who stopped scrolling their phones to peek. "We've got a problem with your ticket," he said once they got there. "Some details don't add up and we need to clear it up." She frowned. "I already passed security. I checked in hours ago." "Yeah, and now I'm double-checking if you're legit for this flight. Business class, right?" "Yes." "Flying solo, 17 years old?" "Yes." He tapped his tablet, swiping slow with one finger, like he was hunting for a reason to doubt her. "We've got concerns this ticket might have been a mistake," he said after a beat. "Maybe even bought shady." Myra's brows scrunched. "It wasn't. I'll need the credit card used, some ID, and the email or device showing the booking confirmation." She unlocked her phone, pulling up the message from her dad, the email with her flight details attached. "My dad booked it. Chuck Norris. Here's the proof." Charles looked up fast. "Sorry, did you say Chuck Norris?" She nodded. He let out a short chuckle, not loud but dripping with skepticism. "Sure," he mumbled. "Why not?" He flipped the tablet to show her the booking info, her name, her flight, the class, but the cardholder's name was blocked out. Just a standard security thing, nothing weird. Still, he leaned on it. "You get why we can't confirm anything with this, right?" "I can text him. He's already on his way. Be here any second." Charles sighed, like he'd heard this story a million times. "And let me guess," he said, his tone sharpening with a sarcastic edge. "He's not just Chuck Norris, he's rolling up in a tinted SUV with a full security crew, huh?" Myra blinked. She felt the jab in his words. Not just doubt, but the vibe that she was faking it. Didn't fit here, didn't earn that seat. "I'm being straight with you," she said soft. He brushed it off. One of the staff muttered something to him. Charles glanced at the screen again. "Sorry," he said, no sorry in his voice. "Until we can confirm payment and ID, you're not boarding." She stared. "You're pulling my ticket?" He nodded, casual as anything. "It's on hold till we sort it out. We can deny boarding if we suspect fraud or funny business." "I'm not faking anything. I didn't take anything. This is my name, my dad." She cut off, hands shaking again. "I'm not debating this," Charles said. "If the person who paid wants to show up and talk, we'll rethink it. Till then, step aside." She didn't budge. Charles gave a quick nod to the two agents nearby. "Escort her out of the boarding zone." "No, hold on," she said, breath catching. "You can't just—" "You can call whoever you want from the public area," he cut in. "Re-enter security if the ticket gets cleared. Have a good one." The words stung like a slap. She stood frozen as an agent stepped up, one gesturing gently toward the hallway. "Let's go, miss." She didn't fight, not because she was okay with it, but because she had nothing left to push back with. She walked between them, quiet, every step bouncing off the shiny floor. Her eyes stung, not from crying but from holding it in. Passengers turned to look. Some knew her from earlier, some whispered. Others stared at their phones like they weren't watching. The hallway opened to the baggage claim. The agent next to her kept glancing ahead, walking fast like he wanted it done. The other stayed silent behind her. When they hit the glass doors by the exit, Myra stopped. Her knees felt shaky. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out with numb hands. Screen lit up. Dad calling. She picked up on the second ring. Dad! Chuck's voice came through, clear, low, urgent. Myra, what's going on? They took my ticket, she whispered, her voice cracking mid-sentence. They said it's fake. They didn't buy it. They said you have to come fix it. Silence hung on the line then. Where are you? They're walking me to baggage claim. Stay put, he said, firm and calm. Don't move. I'll be there in 10. She nodded, even though he couldn't see. Okay. I mean it, baby girl. Don't budge an inch. The call dropped. She stood there, staring through the glass at people rolling luggage. Families at the automatic doors sliding open and shut, like the airport was alive without her. The agent started moving again, but she didn't follow. She turned her back to them, leaned against the cool metal railing by the hallway wall, and slid down to sit on the tile. She pulled her knees to her chest, rested her forehead on them, and tuned out everything. Myra didn't care who was watching anymore. Let them stare, let them guess, let them record. She was done trying to prove herself to folks who wouldn't hear her out. She sat there, quiet, until steady, heavy footsteps broke through the hum of the place. A hush settled over the nearby travelers. Heads turned, phones popped up, even the agents behind her shifted, looking antsy. Myra lifted her head. There he was, Chuck Norris. Not on a screen, not in some old flick, but right here. His steps were slow on purpose, rocking a beat-up gray jacket, dark jeans, and his worn-out training kicks. No flash, no crew, no cameras. But the vibe he carried? It filled the room louder than anything else. He didn't say a word at first, just walked up to her and held out a hand. You okay? She nodded, though her eyes got watery out of nowhere. She grabbed his hand, and then he turned to the agents behind her, his voice sharp and cool. Somebody better explain this quick. Chuck stood still, hands loose at his sides, but his stare locked on the guy heading their way. Charles, the terminal supervisor, now moving with steps way smaller than before. Charles looked like he'd just figured out he'd messed up big time. Face pale, lips tight, suit jacket a little off like he'd thrown it on in a hurry. Sweat shone under his hairline, and when he stopped in front of Chuck, his hand shook a bit as he stuck it out. Mr. Norris, sir, I can't tell you how sorry I am about all this today. Chuck didn't shake it, just glanced at the hand, then back up to Charles's face. You're the one who yanked her ticket? Charles swallowed hard. Yes, sir. I got an alert from our system and I followed protocol, but I should have dug deeper, clearly. Protocol? Chuck said low, letting the word hang. Was embarrassing a 17-year-old girl protocol? Charles's voice wobbled. Sir, no, not at all. I mean, I didn't know. I wasn't told she was your... Chuck took one step forward, slow and quiet, and Charles flinched back on instinct. She told you who she was, Chuck said, his voice soft but slicing through the terminal noise. She showed you her ID, her boarding pass, her name. All you saw was some kid who didn't match your idea of business class. I'll own that, Charles said, barely above a whisper. I jumped to awful conclusions. I'm sorry, and I'll make sure this never happens again. I've already told the team to put her ticket back, sir. We'll bump her up if she wants, and I'll talk to everyone working the floor about this. Chuck didn't blink. Her name's on the ticket? Yes, sir, for sure. Who paid for it? Your name, sir? It's on the original record. We just didn't check it right. Chuck's eyes tightened a little. You didn't mess up checking. You messed up respecting her. Charles nodded fast, like he was clinging to a lifeline. You're dead right. It's on me, all of it. I've told the higher-ups. I'll write the report myself. Take the heat. Before or after the videos hit online? Chuck asked, low, glancing at the small crowd nearby, half of them holding phones, acting like they weren't filming. Charles went whiter. We'll deal with it. I mean, we'll talk to the press if we have to. Put out a statement, fix the record. Chuck raised an eyebrow. I'm not here for press releases. Charles's voice dropped, almost begging. Mr. Norris, please, if there's anything we can do to make this right, I'm all yours. I'll walk your daughter through security myself. Stay with her at the gate, file reports, whatever you want. Chuck turned a bit, looking at Myra, who stood a few feet back, still rattled but taking in every word. The room had calmed some when the next guy stepped up. He wasn't tall, didn't have Chuck's fame or build, but people parted for him anyway. He wore a blazer that wasn't fancy but looked sharp, shoes tapping the floor steady, like he wasn't here to mess around. His name tag said, Sir Henson, Regional Director. He walked right up to Chuck Norris, stopped a polite distance away, and spoke with a calm that shrank the mess a little. Mr. Norris, I'm real sorry about what went down here today. Chuck didn't answer right off. Sir Henson glanced at Myra, then back to him. We've gone over what happened. I've talked to Charles and the rest of the crew. There were screw-ups everywhere, judgment, process, and plain decency. Chuck nodded slow. You're not off base. I'm glad you didn't just walk away, Henson said, and I respect how you've handled this, especially with how public it's gotten. Chuck's voice stayed quiet even. We don't want the spotlight. We just wanted to get on the plane. I get that, Henson said. I've already fixed your daughter's ticket. Same seat, same class. She's also on our priority list for the day. No more gate hassles, no extra checks. Chuck looked at Myra. She stood quiet, hands stuffed in her hoodie sleeves, silent since the last back and forth. Her eyes had that far-off look again, one foot stuck in the moment the mug broke, when people smirked, when they didn't buy her story. She'll get a secure escort to the plane, Henson went on, and I'll walk you both to the terminal entrance myself if that's cool. Chuck nodded again. That'll work. The staff backed off, silent. Some avoided eyes, others watched the crowd swelling behind the glass. Travelers filmed, whispered, stunned. They knew this wouldn't fade fast. Chuck turned, voice calm but sharp. Your people need to learn something. Henson waited. My daughter didn't beg or cheat. She came with her name, her truth, a real ticket, and got suspicion, laughs, and garbage treatment nobody should take. You're right, Henson said steady. We'll fix it. Training, consequences. Chuck didn't nod, just stared, letting silence hit. Then he faced Myra. She'd held it together nearly 2 hours. Stares, broken mug, grilling, fighting to be heard. She met his eyes, reading him. Ready? He asked. She nodded, low energy. Yeah. Henson waved a staffer over, guiding them to a priority access lane. The crowd shifted. Phones dipped. Whispers buzzed. Myra trailed Chuck, clutching her torn backpack strap. Eyes forward past detectives and agents, now nodding nervously. She was back in charge, barely. In the quieter security line, Chuck turned. You did solid. She half smiled, fading quick. Still feels off. I know it's done, but... He waited. I let it get me, she said. Lost it back there. You didn't lose it, Chuck said. They pushed you. Shouldn't have let them see it hurt. He locked eyes. That's not weak, Myra. That's real. They're the ones who should feel dumb for pushing. Her shoulders eased a bit. Father and daughter, not a legend in shadow, heading for more than a flight, something earned. The gate was open. Chuck looked at her. I'm coming with. She blinked, surprised. You don't have to. After today, you're not flying alone, he said, tone final. Not mad, not distrust, but care. After how they'd treated her, he wouldn't let her go with shaky hands. He stepped to the agent. One look, a quick word, and a seat appeared. They boarded low-key, sliding into a front row. Most passengers were settled, distracted. A few peeked, curious, phones half up, but Chuck ignored them, stashing his bag, helping Myra with hers. The doors clicked shut, plane humming. Myra sat by the window, arms tight, staring at the sky through smudged glass. On her lap, a folded towel held the mug's broken pieces. She hadn't let go since the terminal. Chuck watched, then said, Keeping those all flight? Yeah, she said, eyes fixed. He leaned in, soft. Show me your hands. I'm fine. Show me. She hesitated, then opened them. Thin red cuts on her palm, one oozing near her thumb. Chuck pulled out his old handkerchief, edges frayed, and wiped the blood slow, gentle, like it stung him more. She watched, eyes burning. They should have helped, he said quiet. They didn't care, she whispered. He kept wiping, steady. Her fingers relaxed. When done, he held her hand a beat. You're like him, he said. Grandpa? She swallowed. Chuck leaned back, voice low. Quiet, sharp, stubborn. Wouldn't talk unless it mattered, but people listened. Had fire like you, not for fights, but for standing up. Myra blinked. Years back before you, there was a fire. Building downtown, late, blazing fast. People trapped. He paused. He ran in. No waiting, just went through smoke. Her eyes widened. Got 4 out. A mom, her kid, 2 older guys. Carried them. Myra's hand went to her mouth. Went back, but the roof fell. She shut her eyes. He didn't make it, but they did. That's in you. Silence grew heavy. Myra looked at the pieces. Sharp, useless. Then her wrapped hand, then Chuck. She leaned over, arms around him, raw and messy, done carrying it all. She shook, breath hitching. Chuck held her, one arm firm, one hand on her head, letting her cry. When it slowed, she whispered, "Thanks for staying." He kissed her forehead, not leaving. She pulled back, eyes red. "Sorry if I messed up." "You didn't. You stood tall." She half smiled. "I'm not your real." "You are," he cut in. "Every way." Her face broke and he pulled her in, chin on her hair. "Always my girl, the one who faced down that pit bull at 5. She laughed, teary. He ran off scared. Chuck grinned. "You're tough, not 'cause you fight, but 'cause you know why." She nodded. The plane rumbled, rolling forward. He glanced at her lap. "Keep the pieces. Broken stuff shows what's real." She grabbed his hand, holding tight.
This is an artistic and fictional creation intended for both entertainment and educational purposes. Any resemblance to actual people or events is purely coincidental. Some scenes and dialogues in the video are part of a dramatized performance and incorporate elements of grotesque, satire, and exaggeration. The creator stands against discrimination, violence, and hatred. This channel fully complies with YouTube's policies and does not infringe upon copyright laws.